In a world where an assistive engine is recommending solutions to its users based on a conversation it's having with that user, brand is everything. So with SEO, it was keywords and links. In AI assistive engines, it's brand. Do they understand who you are? Do they understand who you serve? Do they understand how you serve that group of people, what you can offer, why it's an advantage to work with you rather than somebody else? Why it's an advantage to work with you, for example, in our case, why an ambitious entrepreneur who is building their personal brand might want to control the narrative in search and AI and expand their voice within search and AI is not something people necessarily think about. So I need to use the lens of Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity to explain it to them within the conversation they're having. And then why am I the most credible solution in market? Because at the end of the day, these engines, Copilot, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google AI Mode, are recommendation engines.
If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. You'll get the latest on marketing, AI, and how to grow your business. It only takes 2 seconds and really helps the show grow. So please hit subscribe and then continue listening. So Jason, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on. We're going to cover a lot of really cool stuff about AI marketing today, but you have a very interesting backstory, which I want to kind of get into. Firstly, you mentioned you live in Mauritius. What made you move there? Why Mauritius?
Right. Well, you have an interesting backstory as well, because you're in Peru, but you're actually from Australia. And going home to Australia means going from your town to Lima to, what was it, Chile? Then New Zealand, then Australia.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting.
It's a bit of a journey. Yeah. Gets me prepared to see my family, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you really, really have to want to see your family.
You just mentally prepare on the plane. Yeah.
Brilliant. I moved to Mauritius in 2000, and it was really cool because it was when the internet bubble was about to burst.
Right.
And I thought, brilliant. Okay, internet, you can do business from anywhere in the world, remote work, absolutely something possible. I will move with my family from Paris to Mauritius, and it's all going to be fine. And of course it wasn't. But Mauritius was delightful. We stayed there 13 years.
Wow.
And I built a website that grew to be one of the biggest websites in the world for children, preschool children, competing with PBS, the BBC, Disney, and the other really big hitters. We had 1 billion page views in 2007, and I was sitting on the beach under a palm tree. That was really, really, really nice.
Sounds great. Nice.
And so my focus, as I just spoke about it, was all about creating content. And my ex-wife and I moved there because we wanted to be creative. We wanted to make an amazing cartoon, games, songs for kids. And we worked with ITV Studios. We worked with Disney. The cartoon was on Playhouse Disney. It was huge. And I kind of forgot that I was actually the CEO and the founder of the company up to 10. And my reason to move to Mauritius was both family, but also business.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And you're now based in France. So what made you move or made you move to France, I should say?
Well, Mauritius is a lovely place. My daughter grew up and is now at Oxford University. So I can be terribly proud. And being on the other side of the world, as you've understood, with family becomes quite complicated. Coming back to France is great. South France, it's nice and warm, like Mauritius. Food is great, and people are lovely, and I can play music again, which was my original career. Mm-hmm. So it's a really nice mix of lovely weather, lovely people, lovely food. I can play music. I've got a company. I'm making money, and we're leading the world in optimization of brands for Google and AI like ChatGPT. So saying it like that, I have literally nothing to complain about.
Sounds like a good life.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. And so I'm curious, you mentioned obviously you have that background in children's cartoons. You mentioned you're also a musician and obviously you've done a lot of touring and things like that. How, like, what was the shift like from being in those creative industries to then now obviously running like a branding and marketing agency, playing in the AI space? What kind of precipitated that shift?
Oh, I like that question because a couple of things. USA Today published a feature article on me a couple of days ago, and this is exactly what they're talking about. Why did I end up exactly where I am?
Hmm.
And it's a mixture of, I started by doing a degree in economics with statistical analysis at Liverpool John Moores University.
Hmm.
So I'm actually a bit of a geek, I think. And then became a musician. But as a musician, I created a company to release the records of the group and to organize tours.
Hmm.
So I was actually an entrepreneur who was a musician
Right.
as much as I was a musician who was an entrepreneur. Then I wanted to make cartoons for kids and I created a company to make cartoons for kids. So I was an entrepreneur who made cartoons for kids as much as I was somebody who made cartoons for kids who happened to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And then I moved into a space of digital marketing, but a really specific niche. How do you control your brand narrative as a personal corporation in Google and AI? And my problem came from the fact that I was focusing on the cartoon making voiceover actor that I had been, and Google reflected that. So when I pitched to people for work, I would go in, make my pitch. They would go, wonderful, brilliant. We're going to have you on board. We're going to work together. We're going to make lots and lots of money. Then they would Google my name and it would say, Jason Barnard is a cartoon blue dog. And I would lose the deal every time.
Right.
And I realized that that representation that Google gave of me in 2012 was losing me millions of dollars. And now in AI with ChatGPT, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, the problem is even bigger. How these machines understand and represent you can make or break a deal, make or break your career, make or break your company. Don't leave it to chance. And that's what I did, is figure out the solution. How do I force Google to represent me as an entrepreneur and digital marketer? How do I make sure that ChatGPT represents me as a successful entrepreneur, a world-leading pioneer digital marketer in the world of generative engine optimization and AI assistive engine optimization, and a specialist in brand in search and AI? I educate them like they're children, which comes back to Boo and Koala. The cartoon is we were educating children, so I could immediately see, okay, we've got these algorithms. They're not stupid. They're just underinformed, misinformed, or confused. And we need simply to create a situation where we're incredibly clear about what we want them to understand, make sure that it's corroborated across every source they find, and make sure that it's incredibly clear. So simple. And if you talk to somebody in the SEO industry or who's talking about generative engine optimization today, they will tend to make it sound very geeky. You need schema markup. You need semantic HTML5. You need to analyze this, that, and the other, and the site speed, and blue, and it becomes incredibly complicated. But it's actually very simply one single source of truth, which is your website, that is corroborated consistently across the entire digital footprint, that the machine can then say, well, actually, what Jason Barnard is saying about Jason Barnard is true. And I'm happy to go with it. So it isn't complicated. Anyone can do it. And one of the things that we do is give away for free everything we do, because you don't need to be a geek. You just need to be a smart marketer or a reasonably intelligent human being who can be consistent over a period of time and across their entire digital footprint and spend the time to do it.
Hmm. I like that. I like that you mentioned the complication and the simplicity. I think that's something a lot of marketers definitely do, is overcomplicate things. And it's really about simplifying and breaking it down into these tangible steps. And so if someone's listening and going, great, like I have that problem, like how would they go about fixing that? Is there like a sequential set of steps that you recommend? You mentioned sort of starting with the website and then kind of corroborating with other information. Do you do like a bit of a mind map? Do you kind of make sure everything's tying together? Like what does that process look like?
I like the mind map because, in fact, I would say, oh, build your website. But in fact, you start with the mind map. Is who am I? What do I represent? What am I trying to communicate?
Mm-hmm.
And our client calls all start with that. Who are you? What are you trying to say? And how can we frame your life and your experience and your authority and everything you've done, everybody you know, everybody you've worked with, your skill set, the articles you've written, the podcasts you've been on? How can we frame that to serve your current goal? Once we've figured that out, we do what we call claim, frame, and prove. What are you claiming? How do you frame it to serve yourself today? And then how do you prove it? And when AI and Google are they're the judge, they're the jury, and they're the publicist. You need to make sure they're on your side. And if they're not, you're going to struggle. You're not going to win the game, but they will be on your side if you can create a story that is clear and consistent across your entire digital footprint. And you start with, what am I claiming? How do I frame it? How do I prove it? So claim, frame, build your website. If you're a person, you probably don't have one, build one. 2 pages, fine. Whole page, about page. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? Why are you credible?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a company, you probably already have a website. So just look at the about page and start thinking, well, am I actually explaining who I am very clearly, who I serve very clearly, why I'm the best solution in market very clearly? And the answer is probably no. Start there. Then look around your entire digital footprint and make that message consistent across the entire digital footprint and link from that what we call entity home. Google calls it the point of reconciliation. You point with links from that page to every piece of corroborative information that demonstrates or proves what you're claiming and framing.
Right.
So you're right. You start with the philosophical discussion with yourself or with your consultant advisor, which is what we do. And that's the key, because once you do it, you don't want to have to go out there and correct it all again in 6 months' time. Get it right first time. It's much, much easier.
And I imagine that the consistency across platforms is super helpful, but also spending the time to sit down and think about, who am I and what is my business?
Yeah.
What does it stand for? Is only going to help in sales calls, in dealing with clients, in communicating a message of this is who I am and this is what I stand for. Like just bringing that consistency and clarity and awareness to what is it that I'm doing and can I sum it up in 30 seconds, rather than overcomplicating it, like you mentioned.
No, it's super difficult to do. It's taken me years to be able to say, as a premium digital marketing agency, Kalicube serves ambitious entrepreneurs who are already investing in their personal brand to control the brand narrative and amplify their voice in Google and AI, such as ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. That's 10 seconds, and I've told you exactly who I serve, how I help them, and why they might want to work with me. Mm-hmm. And I think we all tend to think we can serve everybody because fundamentally what we have is the Kalicube process, which is a process of educating these algorithms. It's universal and it's future-proof. So every person, every company could potentially use this service. So we give it away for free because we can't serve everybody. What we need to do is focus in on the people who don't want to do it themselves. They don't have the time, but they have the money. They want to have it done properly. They want to have it done fast. They want somebody else to take the weight off their shoulders. That's the ambitious entrepreneur who knows that their time is better spent networking with people they're going to do business with and make $1 million from one deal than spending 3 days trying to figure out how this all functions.
Right.
Whereas, for example, an actor might say, well, I'd rather read the DIY guide, figure out for myself because I don't have the money, but I do have the time. And that for me is key. It's very tempting to try to serve everybody, but I've learned it's a really bad idea because it doesn't work.
Yeah, you spread yourself really thin, and it's like, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. So no, I think it's super important for people to think about, like, what am I doing? Who am I? What am I selling? And who am I selling it to? I think is, like you mentioned, is really important. And so within, like you mentioned, you work with the AI and generative engine optimization sort of space with Google and say ChatGPT, different LLMs. What sort of influence or impact do you see AI having on brands, on businesses right now?
It's the be all and end all. I come from a world of SEO where people are saying, well, I get my keywords, I get some links and I'll rank and I'll be number one in Google. Number one in Google, it's going to be okay for a couple of years, let's say. Google isn't going away. Search isn't going away for the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. What platforms like ChatGPT have done is bring additional ideas, additional opportunities for us. So supply has created its own demand. So search volume isn't going down. Use of ChatGPT, Perplexity, and AI assistive engines generally is just going up.
Right.
So we've got both working together. So from that perspective, you're looking at expanding rather than completely changing. And in a world where an assistive engine is recommending solutions to its users based on a conversation it's having with that user, brand is everything. So with SEO, it was keywords and links. Mm-hmm. In AI assistive engines, it's brand. Do they understand who you are? Do they understand who you serve? Do they understand how you serve that group of people, what you can offer, why it's an advantage to work with you rather than somebody else? Why it's an advantage to work with you, for example, in our case, why an ambitious entrepreneur who is building their personal brand might want to control the narrative in search and AI and expand their voice within search and AI is not something people necessarily think about. So I need to use the lens of Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity to explain it to them within the conversation they're having. And then why am I the most credible solution in market? Because at the end of the day, these engines, Copilot, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google AI Mode, are recommendation engines. They're recommending the best solution to a problem that somebody is expressing.
Right.
And I want them to recommend me. And it's what we call the perfect click. When somebody says, okay, I've understood that taking control of my personal brand narrative in Google and AI is fundamentally important, that I can amplify the work I'm already doing on my personal brand through Google and AI because they are recommendation engines who talk to billions of people every day about very niche topics where that person or the billions of people are asking for the solution and asking for a recommendation to their problem. I can amplify my voice to exactly the audience I want if the machine understands what I offer and to whom I offer it.
Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Become the perfect click, which is the moment the machine says, I recommend Jason Barnard. I recommend Kalicube over and above every other possible solution. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's right. No. Yeah, I think it's really interesting too. Like, it sounds like something other guests have mentioned is like we're coming into this sort of hyper specific information age. And it sort of sounds like what you're saying, where the more specific I can be about who I'm serving and what I do and talking in their language. Because if these, search engines or LLMs people are having conversations with them. So I imagine a conversational language approach is probably going to be like very important. What language does our target market use? For instance, how do they speak? What are some of the problem keywords that they're using to try and bridge that gap and build that alignment? Is that what you're finding in the AI space?
Yeah, the word keyword, unfortunately, has a bad reputation because it's based on the idea of the word itself rather than the meaning of the word.
Right.
What we're looking for is the intent behind the words that people are using. So you can speak to ChatGPT and you can be incredibly vague and it will figure out what your intent is. Whereas Google traditional search couldn't do that.
Right.
So it's more about what is their problem, what's their intent, and where does that machine naturally lead them to the solution? How can I be at that point where the solution is? And I'll give you an example. It's a really simple example. You're a musician, I'm a musician, so it's a good example. Is I'm a double bass player, the big stand-up bass. And I have a huge bass amp and it's beautiful, wonderful, best thing I ever bought other than the double bass itself. And I wanted to play the guitar because I play guitar okay. I'm a much better double bass player than I'm a guitar player, but I wanted to play the guitar. And I thought, well, I don't want to buy a new guitar amp. Can I play a guitar through a bass amp? I don't know. Went to ChatGPT and I said, can I play a guitar through a bass amp? It said, yes, you can. Will I break it? No, you won't. But it will sound not very good. Okay, how do I make it sound better? You need three pedals. You need, or three effects rather, a reverb, a compressor, and an equalizer.
Right.
Brilliant. What do you recommend? So it gave me three effects pedals for the guitar. How much is that going to cost me? Probably about $250. And I said, okay. I might be an incredibly rich entrepreneur CEO of a hugely successful multinational company, but I only want to spend $120. It gave me three other options saying they're almost as good. You won't notice the difference unless you're a professional musician. And it's going to be about $120. I said, okay, brilliant. I'll go with that. Where do I buy it? If you're in the US, you buy from Clearwater. If you're in Europe, you buy from Thomann. I'm in Europe. Gave me the link to Thomann. I bought the pedals. They turned up the next day. But the entire process of I am wondering if I can play my guitar through my bass amp to buying the three pedals that I needed in order to do it and have it sound brilliant, 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I think the key there is I trusted it 100%. So you end up with ChatGPT in that particular situation was the most important influencer in the world. Take all the YouTube influencers, all the TikTok influencers you want for music. None of them would have got me to that solution that quickly with that much confidence. ChatGPT, Google, Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity, Claude are the biggest influencers in the world, and we should treat them that way.
And that's a really cool point about seeing them as influencers. And I think it's really interesting to note that your whole purchase journey, or 90% of it, happened, like you mentioned, inside ChatGPT. And I imagine at some point there will maybe some integration where you don't even have to leave ChatGPT to make purchase. You know, I feel like that's coming. And so it's super interesting. I'm curious, like, what was it that made you trust ChatGPT? Was it the way it kind of broke it down for you? Like, what is it that made you not need to go and look at reviews and not need to go and look at a YouTube video?
Which is an interesting question. Number one, I was using it already because I trusted it. Number two is it gave me the pros and cons. It wasn't just, this is brilliant, this is brilliant. I'm thinking, ooh, for an influencer, they've been paid to tell me that this particular EQ pedal is the best. So I understand it hasn't been paid. I understand that it's summarizing multiple results that would take me ages to go back and forth to summarize. And I wouldn't be able to hold all that information in my head and make a reasonable judgment. So I'm basically asking the machine, make a judgment decision for me. And at the end of the day, I mean, the pedals thing right down here, it might not be the best solution, but it took me 15 minutes. It saved me $120 and it sounds really good. So for the next 5 years until I become the best guitarist in the world, I'm fine. I'm happy. Oh, I'll spend another $200 when I actually become a good guitarist. I said best in the world. That's really silly, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Because you've actually got a guitar behind you, so you're probably
do.
significantly better at the guitar than I am.
Well, you're probably significantly better at the double bass. I've never
Ah,
ever touched a double bass, so play to our strengths. But it's super interesting that you mentioned about the reason, or part of the reason you trusted ChatGPT was, one, you've used it before, but also that it gave you honest information and that it didn't just say, like, here's all the good things. It was like, here's some good things, here's some like pros, here's some cons. And I'm just thinking hypothetically, like, if businesses did that, if they took that approach of like, we're not a one size fits all, kind of like in your messaging, you're excluding people, you're specifically targeting a specific audience. Like you mentioned, you could serve everybody, but you're choosing to serve a specific audience. And there's kind of like an exclusivity in that. And I wonder whether businesses could take that approach in their content where it's like,
yeah.
these are the people we serve and these are the people we don't serve. And this is what we can do and this is what we don't do. And so rather than trying to be like a yes person, which you mentioned, like it doesn't build trust, being very clear about, like, if you fall into this category, like, we're probably not a good fit. And that's okay. Like, we could refer you or like maybe check out some resources. And I think that transparency and that honesty of being like, look, we're not for everybody and this is why, can help build trust with brands, I imagine.
100%. I mean, the other thing, of course, is why waste your time on a sales call where the person simply isn't going to be able to buy?
Right.
So if I'm saying with Kalicube, you need to have $3,000 a month to invest. And with $3,000 a month, you really have to have something going on with your personal brand in the background that we can then amplify.
Right.
Or you have to have an online reputation management problem that we can solve. So you need to have that kind of budget. There's no point in getting on a call with me if you're not willing to put $3,000 a month on the table to solve a pain point with your personal brand or your corporate brand. And it's something it took me a while to understand, is that I would rather somebody didn't come on a sales call and we try and send them to this, which is the free resources. Okay, you don't have that budget, then hopefully you have the time. And here are the free resources. So one thing I've done recently is actually just write the pages on my website, on the company website, that say, here are the people we serve. Here are the people we want as clients. Here are the people that the Kalicube process as a free, the free resources about the Kalicube process can help. And hopefully, and I can see it starting to happen already, is the AI and Google are sending the free people to the free resources, and the people who have the money, want to invest in their personal brand or their corporate brand, to the sales calls. So now what I'm getting increasingly is sales calls that go something like this. Open the sales call. Hello, where are you? I'm in France. Where are you? I'm in North America somewhere, in Texas, let's say. Then I say, why did you book the call? They say, well, I have a problem with my personal brand. I understand what you do. I understand that you are the best in market because ChatGPT and Google have been recommending you, and I keep seeing this red shirt all over the place. My questions are, how much does it cost? How long does it take? 10-minute sales call, done.
Right. So they're much more pre-qualified and educated.
Yeah. And I almost never get anyone a sales call who hasn't researched me on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI Mode, Microsoft Copilot. So they come in saying, well, this recommendation engine, this influencer has already told me you're the best.
And then there's that trust.
Now it's just a question of, do I have the money and do I have the patience for the time? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I just meant there's that trust factor we mentioned before. They've gone and doing this research. They're trusting these AI influencers like ChatGPT, and then they're coming onto the call pre-sold, basically, just looking to put a face. That's really cool. Yeah,
it is. And the trust factor is amazing. I mean, obviously our website helps. They go through our website to book the call. So we have to make sure that the landing pages emphasize the trust factor. But at the end of the day, by the time they've got there, the decision is already made.
Yeah. That's cool. In my opinion, those are like the best sales calls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing, we were talking about the free resources earlier on with my team, and the number of sales we get from the free resources is negligible, maybe 5%.
Right.
People who want the free resources because they want to understand what to do, which is fine. I knock yourselves out. What we have done is found a future-proof, universal strategy for controlling brand narrative and amplifying brand voice in Google and AI. And we share it for free because I believe that this is an existential problem that people aren't really thinking about. AI, Google, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, they're all trying to understand everybody. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? You don't get a say and you can't opt out. You need to take control. We found the universal future-proof solution to that. And I believe that people have the right to control how AI understands and represents them. So we give it away for free. Once again, because we can't serve everybody. And I always thought, we'll give it away free and then people will upgrade and decide that they want to work with us. It's not happening. What happens is people understand there's a problem. The people who understand the problem is costing them money today, entrepreneurs who are ambitious with their personal brand, especially in the B2B space, less in the B2C space, will come to us and say, well, I'm ready to invest because I understand that I'm losing money, losing opportunities right now.
Right.
And that by working with you, we can move forwards and I can not only stop losing opportunities, but I can make more opportunities for myself, which is exactly what I've done. I stopped losing opportunities because Google and AI no longer confuse me with the cartoon blue dog. And I'm making opportunities because they're now actively recommending me to the niche market that I can actually serve, which is what you were saying.
That's really cool. And I think something really important for people to consider, like you mentioned, even more so in the age of AI, is increasingly important to know, and even just because there's just more and more information coming out online, standing out in the noise and creating that signal of like, yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing it for? Who am I doing it for? You know, like really defining that to make sure that there's that consistency, I think is super important. And so for people listening, what are some of the maybe AI tools or automations that you use regularly in your business at the moment?
Well, I use my own platform, Kalicube Pro. But that's actually an internal tool. So I'm not selling it. I'm not saying, agencies come and use Kalicube Pro. We tried that, didn't work. So it's only for our own clients. We've got 3 billion data points collected from Google and AI since 2015, 70 million brands, 133,000 brands, people and corporations tracked monthly in Google and AI. And we use that data to figure out exactly what we need to do to be the most effective and efficient in terms of getting the person to brand narrative control and brand amplification in Google and AI across all the AI platforms. So number one I use is Kalicube Pro, but nobody else can use it. So that's not really very helpful. Kalicube Pro hooks into Gemini and ChatGPT. So we build assistants based on the vocabulary, the claims, the framing, and all of the proof. So we end up with Kalicube Pro being able to say, okay, this is the claim. This is how they want to frame it. Let's find the proof. And then we join all the dots. And so we use Gemini a lot, ChatGPT a lot. I find that Google Gemini is more, maybe less friendly, but more effective. ChatGPT is a bit, it's a bit obvious a lot of the time. So when we spit something out with ChatGPT, people say, oh, that looks like AI. Gemini isn't quite as bad as ChatGPT, but I think that's just because ChatGPT is dominated. An interesting report by Ahrefs is that 75% of new content has AI in it to some extent. And I can't remember what the number was, maybe 50% or 60% of content ranking in Google's AI overviews is AI, 50 or 60% or more. So AI is something that is now always going to be here. Now it's a question of how do we use it? Because if it's too obviously AI, it will turn your clients off.
Yeah.
If it's too obviously human, the AI actually struggles to understand it.
Right.
So you need to find that balance. If I write something full of poetry and jokes and colloquialisms and things that I say that nobody else in the universe says, the AI really struggles to understand it. So it puts me at a disadvantage. So I need the AI to clean me up so the AI can understand me, but not so much that when the person lands on the page, there's no personality. That's the trick to play. That's what we do at Kalicube. We find that balance.
Yeah. It's interesting, to think about that, because there's so much talk of like, tell your story and be authentic, and not to say not to do that. But you mentioned like the balance of not being completely human written, but not being completely AI generated or written. And what does that middle ground look like? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you said at the beginning of this interview, oh, this is going to be fun because I've got an interesting backstory, but we actually haven't gone into that. And that's a real pity because that's what differentiates.
Right.
So you could take this interview and you could put the transcript into any AI and say, focus on Jason Barnard's personal stories and build his corporate message around his personal stories. That works incredibly well because you're going to please the human audience and the AI will still understand.
Right.
So if I say to you, okay, I had a company in 1991, WTPL Music for music, and it was music publisher and a tour operator. We organized the tours for the band. I exited that company in 1999 to then create Up to 10 Limited in Mauritius, where we built an ed tech platform with preschool games, songs, and entertainment that reached 1 billion page views in 2007. But I was sitting on the beach under a palm tree in the sunshine, which was delightful. We signed a deal with Disney and with ITV International for a TV series, 52 episodes, brilliant, worldwide distribution. Then I pivoted and the Blue Dog became a problem because of my brand. Now I live in the south of France. It's really lovely and sunny. I get lots of time to work on my clients. I play music still. I've given a thread of a story that can be woven around it that will be authentic and will attract or appeal to people. And your AI summary will make sense to both audiences very easily. So weaving that story, that personal story, is for me the key. And it works. I mean, we've proven it at Kalicube time and time again that writing with AI is not necessarily a bad thing. And I think people get that idea. Writing with AI and it's sounding like AI will put off your audience. You might get penalized by Google, you might not. You might get penalized by ChatGPT, you might not. Point is, you need to educate them. And you need to educate them with who you are, what you do, who you serve, why you're credible, when you can be useful to the subset of their users who are the audience. But you need to make sure that the human aspect is woven into it. So when the audience finds you, they like you, they convert. So don't ever lose your personality to AI.
I think that's a good point. And something that I think is really critical in this space is also figuring out your voice. And then, because once you know how you want to sound, how you want to write, who you are, who you serve, what you do, you can then input that into ChatGPT or into these AI tools, like starting with like who you are, starting with the human, putting that into ChatGPT, asking, oh, I really like this author or this writer. I want to sound like them. And then like, I find I've gotten such good results when I'm like, write like this person or write like this person. And it just, for some reason, it helps the AI because they just know, there's obviously tons of information online about the tonality of that person, especially if they're a public figure or a famous author. And so they're able to just pump out this really unique humanized content, especially if you then say, here's my backstory. So there's definitely, I think, ways to humanize the content for sure, while still using AI. And like, I really like you mentioned, creating content that is educational and is helpful, but has the human story element to it, because everybody learns through stories. Everybody remembers stories way more than just like a how-to guide, for instance. It's like, oh, I'm going to remember that this Jason guy was sitting on a beach in Mauritius building this huge company, that's going to be, or that he wore a red shirt, like these little, and that's part of the branding, obviously. But I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and a tiny detail, like I was sitting on the beach under a palm tree, looking at the sea, and the boss of ITV Studios rang me up, and we signed the deal.
Yeah.
Tiny little story becomes human. Jason Barnard suddenly becomes this incredibly impressive person who's talking to the boss of ITV Studios, but in a context that warms the cockles of your heart, as we say.
Yeah, it's relatable. It's aspirational. It's like, oh, here's someone who's doing something different, and how cool, like, to be sitting on an island working remotely. Like, that was a big part of why I started my business, because I wanted to be able to work online and travel and live wherever. And so building an online presence and an online business is such a big part of my life. And it was funny, when I used to work in corporate, I printed out a photo of what was it, like a tropical island beach, probably what Mauritius looks like, with like tropical, like palm trees and an umbrella, and there was a like a sun lounger, deck chair. And I was like, one day that's going to be my view. Like, I'll be on my laptop looking at a view like that, and it took me a little while, but I got there. And I remember sitting in that being like, I imagined this, and now like I'm here doing it. So I think, like, for me, like, that just resonates totally. Those sorts of stories really resonate, I think, and probably for a lot of people, because people crave freedom, they crave adventure, they crave this different way of living, rather than just hard facts. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I love it. And then the personal stories of when I was a musician.
Exactly.
We played on the same bill as Bob Dylan. Cool. He was right at the top. We were right at the bottom. But I was still on the same bill as Bob Dylan.
That's cool.
And I met the boss of Warner Chappell Publishing, who was the ex-drummer of the Mano Negro. And that's how we did the deal with Warner Chappell, because I was sitting in an amphitheater, a Roman amphitheater in Lyon, talking to the ex-drummer of a band that I knew, who was now the boss of Warner Chappell, waiting for Bob Dylan to play his headlining gig after I played my gig. That's a good story.
That's really cool. Yeah. And also,
I think these stories are really important, and AI is going to dilute them. And if we actively try to reactivate them and keep them alive and keep our own spirits alive, we have a huge advantage, because I think the human is going to come back. Sorry, and I'm talking about music again. I'm realizing now in the south of France, there are more and more opportunities to play gigs. I still play music because people want human contact. They want that exchange. And live music is a great example, but also sitting and talking to me for a sales call, even if it's only 10 minutes, that's going to become incredibly important, or increasingly important. People are saying, oh, an AI agent will make all the decisions for me. We're going to get so cut off from life. I was talking to my doctor the other day, and he was saying so many of his patients now talk to him about how isolated they feel and how much they crave human contact, and any kind of human contact is going to help, which is why you get more gigs, why the sales call remains important. And AI agents, brilliant stuff. But that problem of people going to the doctor and saying, I have no human contact and I'm getting really depressed, really isolated and really lonely, is going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's almost like the market will kind of swing back the other way, where it's like, we're kind of all in this tech AI hype, and then it's going to be like, oh, now there's going to be a huge explosion of in-person retreats and events. And you mentioned live music, retreats, corporate events, like those kind of, where they have like team building events. I think that's going to, take off, maybe like sporting teams, indoor sports. I think a lot more in person. And I know people are finding this not just in the corporate business space, but also in dating. A lot of people have given up on online dating and they're now joining social groups and meetups in person to meet people, because it's just, people crave human connection. They crave interaction. So it's a human need. I think we all have. Yeah.
And I love that as well, because as often in life, kind of things come together in the same day. I was talking to my ex-wife, we're still friends. She made the cartoon with me, and we were having a chat this morning over a coffee and a croissant downstairs from my house in the sun of day. It does, doesn't it? It's great. Stade de France, wonderful. And she was saying, why don't you organize a retreat where you coach people in everything you know? And they all come down, and there's a place here called, I think it's called Parc de Vanish, and it's got lots of little bungalows and a huge wood with a big piece of grass with a swimming pool and a conference room.
Mm-hmm.
It's right down the street. And she's right. If I say to people, come down for 3 days, you pay 5,000 euros, 4,000 euros, I don't know how much it will be. Mm-hmm. We get 20 people and we all have a lovely time learning together, hanging out together in the south of France. She's right. People would come. And people would come partly for the learning, but also thinking, oh,
just to meet people.
Zoom.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think just to meet people like that. Often I'm like, oh, I don't really care about this activity that much, but it'd be cool to just meet some people who are doing that. And you know, they seem like my kind of people. So I think that's really cool. And so we're on time for today. We've kind of gone over, but for people who want to know more.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I could keep talking. But for people who want to connect with you, where can they find you online and learn more about what you do?
You can Google me.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
Or you can ask ChatGPT.
Nice. With the QR codes. I like that.
With the QR code. So that's what I say to people. If you want to know more about me or about Kalicube, you just Google Jason Barnard, or you ask ChatGPT, who is Jason Barnard? See what it answers, and you'll see the power of what we do at Kalicube for our clients, but also through the Kalicube process, free downloads for absolutely free. You have the power. It's an existential problem, and I strongly advise anybody who cares about their personal brand to take control today. Even if you don't care about visibility, even if you don't care about amplifying your voice, take control. It's existential. I think it's fundamentally important. If you don't, that's fine. I'm absolutely not going to argue with anybody about that. And if you want somebody to do it properly for you, if you want it done fast, if you have the money but not the time, I'm happy to help.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. No, I think that's really cool what you're doing in the space, and something I think a lot of people will get value. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And thank you everyone for listening.